Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Thank you for joining me again. Today, I'm gonna show you what the cylinder head looks like after it came back from the machine shop. I think you're gonna be pretty impressed. I sure was. Before I get to the cylinder head, if this is your first time watching and you like this sort of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to be notified of new videos as they're uploaded, hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button as well. Now let me show you the cylinder head. Here's the table where we had the cylinder head before, going through it. If you remember the cylinder head, you know, it was browned in a lot of places because of just running over the years of the oil and heat cycling and everything else. I really did my due diligence, look for a machine shop that would be able to not only machine the mill the surface flat and check the valve seats, and also pressure check it, but I also wanted a machine shop that would get it as perfectly clean as possible. Surprisingly, that was a little more difficult than I thought it would be. 3 of the 4 machine shops I called said they could get most of the carbon off, but no guarantee, because they didn't have the machinery, the chemicals, or the process in place to be able to do that inside all of the intake and exhaust ports. But a friend of mine, another Land Cruiser fanatic here in town, referred me to a place down in South Austin. I'm up in North Austin, maybe 40 minutes away from me. I went over there, I spoke with them, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Very small hole-in-the-wall place. I put their info in the last video. I'll put their info in the description below as well. If you're in the Central Texas area, I would definitely recommend using them. So let me show you what we got here. This thing looks brand new. They got every bit of carbon buildup out of this cylinder head. All of the fittings, fixtures, even inside the spark plug tubes, everything looks brand spanking new. And you might look at this and say, hey, my machine shop does the same thing, or you might wonder how they did this. I mean, even inside the water jackets, this is nuts. They did really well. Look how clean it is inside the intake ports. God, if I ever did want to port this thing, right now would be the time, wouldn't it? Even inside the threads on all of these are perfectly clean. Let me flip this guy over. And the exhaust side, where the worst of it was, all clean. Look at that. Beautiful. It looks fantastic. And all of our seats for the springs are perfectly clean. I'm glad I pulled all of the valve seals, the seats for the springs, everything out. That way they were able to get it perfectly clean underneath there as well. And I had them check the valve seats as well. Let me show you the valve seats on the other side, along with the machine surface. There we go. And they did check the valve seats. They said everything was in good shape. They did not have the valves, because I had the valves here. I had disassembled all of that before, but they checked the valve seats, making sure everything was still sitting where it should be. The angles are still good, and they felt that it looked pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and check the valve seats against all of the individual valves as well. I'll show that process here in one of the follow-up videos when I get started assembling this thing again. And that way you can get an idea of what that process looks like. Instead of just throwing the springs and the valves and the retainers back in, a little bit more work goes a long way to make sure you're getting a perfect seal between the matting surface on the head of the valve and the valve seats themselves. So there it is. There is the cylinder head back from the machine shop. This thing has 45,000 miles on it, and it looks absolutely brand new. I'm very happy with this. The one last thing I want to do before I tell you guys to all start taking your cylinder heads to these folks is to put a straight edge across the entire cylinder head The way you want to do that is diagonally one way, diagonally the other way, straight across in the middle, straight across over the top, straight across over the bottom, etc. You get the point. To make very sure that the straight edge sits completely flat, and you use a feeler gauge underneath the straight edge to make sure there's no gaps or anything. So I'll show you what that process looks like as well when I get around to it. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put this aside on our table with all of our parts, with the matting surface facing upwards, so that we're not causing any sort of scarring or damage there on the soft aluminum surface. And we'll get to the rest of our parts, disassemble the remainder of the short block, and do a lot more cleanup in there, and we'll get around to reassembling this head probably in a week or so. But keep an eye out for the videos. I think you'll find a lot of the information useful when I start getting the valves and everything reassembled on this cylinder head. So that's it for this video. It was just a quick update to show you guys what the cylinder head looks like coming back from Austin Machine Shop. Again, I'll put their information down in the description below. In the meantime, thank you for joining again. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.